Give me some thumbs up if I'm on the screen.
What was that?
Okay, am I on the screen right now?
On my laptop, yes, and then it says the. What was that? There it goes.
Yeah, am I on the screen right now? Oh, delay. Okay.
My laptop, yes, and then it says the. What was that? There it goes.
Yeah, okay. Do me a favor, because there's like some massive feedback. Let's turn off one of, probably your laptop. Let's turn that one off.
What was that?
Do me a favor, because there's like some massive feedback. Let's turn off one of, probably your laptop. Let's turn that one off. Okay, how's that? Better? All right, that's all weird because now I can hear myself talk. So, blop. Okay. Technical difficulties on YouTube today. Let me see. Yeah, okay. We'll just leave it be. All right. Guys, what's up? Good morning. Let's get started. Thank you for being here. Let me see if I can go ahead and share screen. And this will be an interesting task, actually. Okay. So throw some thumbs up in the air if you can see my slide there. Yes, can you guys see that slide, the screen share? No, huh? How's that? Thumbs up? Okay, finally. Okay, let's get started. Woo! We have to work on this, YouTube. It's always a problem. All right, so this is what we're not doing today. Thanks you again for having me. I'm just going to kind of leave it this way because let's not fix something that's not broken. And just for kind of a technical thing, Tim, I'll still be on Hangouts on my phone. So if something funny happens, just kind of ping me there. Then I'll know something bad happened, and then we'll kind of switch over. Let me just make sure I can see everything properly again. Cool. All right, let's do this. So really today, the MVP is your questions. I really want to address your questions, guys. And apparently you guys have a bunch for me, so let's blow through this. In general, today's chat will primarily be this. We'll talk about the state of the job market, applying, resumes, interviews, salary negotiations, career mapping. Hopefully through this, we will have covered a bunch of your questions, but I'll still go through the list. Please do add to it as we go through this. If anything comes up, and we will continue to, you may hear me slurping coffee like right now, but that's so I can stay human on the Pacific Coast time. In case you don't know me, my name is Ben Fung. I'm a DPT MBA, and I've kind of gone through a lot in a very short amount of time in terms of my career path, and decided to openly share it. That's kind of how I got on the scene of the kind of career talks in our space, in our field. And my story is really almost like an entry-level rant. Like I almost feel like a little teenage angsty when sharing it, only because I feel like this shouldn't be anymore. Like we have such a defined new normal that we have, our pioneers to thank, our educators to thank, our colleagues to thank, our mentors to thank, and it still kind of needs some shaping, which is something I hope you guys will take. And when the torch comes to you, that you will, carry it high and carry it proudly. The DPT has been better than it ever has been. It's been an iterative process. And is certainly the DPT you're getting is very different than the one I'm getting, or I have. And it's covered a lot more. It's a lot more in depth. There's so much more research and evidence involved. And it's a little bit of an insult, especially to our educators and researchers, to think that it hasn't improved over the years. And because of that, new grads are doing things that they've never done before. My story is an example of something that people have never done before, but is becoming the new normal. If you've heard it, bear with me. If not, the short story is, I went into school like many to explore the potentials of outpatient, right? It was always been ortho and sports. So many of us go into physical therapy to pursue ortho and sports. And very few of us are even aware, unless we did our, our student volunteering pre-grad school in some type of inpatient setting or another setting, period. So when I finally graduated, I wanted to move back home. I'm in San Diego and currently, and I wanted an outpatient job. And then, 5 years out, I wanted to start my own clinic, and that was going to be my life. That was going to be life, like get that magical 5 years, whatever that does, to gain probably respect from your peers, not so much from our customers. And then I'm trustworthy enough to open up a practice. Apparently, that's the rule, and I still have to find that. Like I've never been able to find that rule. Like I don't know where it's written. I don't know where it's said. I don't know which pylon it's been stamped on, but it's there, and it's a little bit hilarious as far as I'm concerned, because it's not real. Well, anyway, I came back home, and there were no outpatient jobs, so I joined up with a major trauma hospital. And I loved it. I actually just kind of remembered that, I loved my acute care rotation. It was actually the most fun for me. I had the most ability to be creative, to self-time manage, a little bit of wound care, a lot of diagnosis. That's what really got me fired up, was I was diagnosing all the time. And that moved very well for me. Within a couple of months, like 4 to 5 months, I was on local news television. I was invited to speak at a Women's Health National Platform conference. And this stuff just kind of took off for me. And it wasn't so much that, I didn't think any of this was abnormal. I was like, well, am I a doctor or not? Like I should be able to handle this, entry level or not. If this is truly a doctorate, and it is, then I should be able to handle all these things from the get-go. Otherwise, we've either overissued this degree, or I personally am undertrained. As a result, I moved up the corporate ladder very, very quickly and kind of maxed out everything. I've tried all settings because of that, and due to life events and the pursuit of the MBA, I decided to take a sabbatical and ultimately start up 2 companies, which is back on the previous slide, UpDoc Media and Recharge, Howard County CrossFit, which is out in Maryland. And I'm the virtual CFO of that, and I am the COO and co-founder for both, but of UpDoc Media. So that's my story. And, if that doesn't sound like your normal story of, well, he graduated and he went out there and he begged for a job and somebody finally gave it to him, and he just kind of creepy crawlied his way all the way until 5 years up. He finally got a promotion. Well, that's because that's not the normal job market anymore. It just isn't. I posted this on my Instagram story the other day for a vote. Boom. Let's get closer. Boom. 57 people on in my Instagram social circles thought this sounded crazy. It was surprising. Nevada apparently pays very, very well, $120,000 a year. So who's moving to Nevada? Coffee break. So, it's surprising for a lot of people because my guess is, let's just see a raise of hands. How many of you, I think I see smiles back there. That's a good thing. How many of you, raise your hands, are expecting to make maybe $60,000 a year out of school? Let's just see. I know there's a delay, but I'm just curious. Just keep holding your hands up. All right, hold them up, hold them up, hold them up. There's like a 5-second delay, so we're gonna have to taper this. Keep holding your hands up if you expect to make $70,000. And then 80,000. And then 90,000. And then 6 figures. Yeah, usually around here, this is when you get like whack-a-mole hands. Like people kind of go up and down, up and down. Like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't want to be sure. And I don't want to be the only hand up. That one greedy individual in the room expecting to make more. But let's cover some realities of what the actual job market looks like. I think we're still good here. So the actual job market right now, and this, if you've seen any of one of my online lectures in the past, I like to share the slide because it's still very relevant. I mean, the slide may be a year and a half old. Last year, Forbes identified physical therapy as an industry. I think it was like the top 10 or top 20 with the largest human resource demand to date, and not going down anytime soon. Even that little blip that the APTA shared a little while back, that was kind of shown to be a little blip. I mean, the market kind of goes up, the market kind of goes down. Way back in 2012, the overview was that there was going to be a 36% increased demand through 2022. And the outpatient industry alone, for those of you interested in outpatient, is seen as a $30 to $60 billion industry. For the most part, on the average market mix, say you're an outpatient clinician, you see X amount of Medicare, X amount of traditional insurance and PPOs and cash pay and work comp, you can generally generate about $250,000 of revenue a year. So ask yourself then, why are new grads making $60,000? And there are reasons to it. Very legitimate for some, less legitimate for others. And quite easily in outpatient and home health, depending on your business arrangement, making 6 figures is pretty normal. Are you working 40 hours? No. Which doctors work 40 hours unless you're part of a major health system and you've been there for like 15 years. Of course, physical therapy is known as one of the most satisfying professions. And you hear this all the time, we didn't get in this for money. Well, yeah, you know what? We didn't get in this for money, but we need to make money to make this something we can stay in. And that's just a fact. And we have to be savvy with that and accepting of it. Otherwise, we'll tank our own industry. Here's some more fun facts. Outpatient is traditionally where the cool kids are. Home health and SNF is where the money is. Personally, I think that inpatient and acute care is where some of the greatest opportunities are for huge change with our industry, like policy level changes. There's a lot of mergers and acquisitions currently in our times. A lot of practices that are smaller and pre-enterprise are looking to get bought out as an exit. There's a lot of fresh PTs out there entering partner-like or pure partner or legacy options to buy into practices and become the next generation owner. And even more, micro practices with hybrid models or using technology or just a generalized diversified career path. So it's a lot of, it's a very exciting times, even since I've graduated. So what's normal, right? Like you always have to ask yourself, what is normal? What can I expect? For those of you familiar with the job market pulse, and maybe after this chat, Tim, we can send everybody kind of a debrief email. We can link this. The job market pulse is an open source data set or data pool for the job market of rehab therapy allied. It started as the physical therapy job market pulse, but a huge outcry from our colleagues in occupational therapy and speech language pathology. They wanted in on the party, so we opened it up. And it's a live trended data set. So unlike Bureau of Labor and Statistics or LinkedIn, Glassdoor, where we can't really verify the data, A, and B, the data is old, like 2 to 3 years old, this stuff is live. People drop in anonymously their data sets. So they say, hey, I'm in Arizona making this, or I just got an offer in, Indiana making that. And what that allows us to do, because it's kind of like a crowdsourced data set, is we get to trend that over time, but it's also sorted by zip code, state, setting, experience, and a whole bunch of other factors. But what's most important to recognize is that the job market pulse is only asking for cash payout. And we're going a little deeper into that. So on a cash payout, because everything else is kind of variable, right? Like you can't really, even personal financiers have challenges putting a dollar sign on certain benefits packages because it's a little complex. So you can expect 74K plus or minus 12, which if you do the math is pretty scary because you can expect anywhere between 86K all the way down to, closer to the 60s or even less because of the standard deviation. But it's a very regional thing, what we do and how we do. And from a finance standpoint, normal is what you make of it. Right? There's some tough markets, right? There's certain areas in Colorado, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and certain areas of Florida, pretty tough. Other areas in the same states, pretty awesome. And so it's really what you make of it. It has more to do with the industry market at large, which kind of goes a little bit beyond today's chat, but just so you know, it's there. I get the question a lot. We'll go on to the specific topics, like when you apply, how early, which platforms, any way I can get an inside track, yes, 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 and yes. How early? As early as you're ready to express intent. Just send whatever or whoever you're interested in working with, usually directly to the clinic director or the HR recruiter. Just send them a letter of intent. Hey, I would love to apply here. Once ready, how early can I apply? Can I start creating an application portfolio or file with you? If it's a small practice, earlier the better. A lot of places are more than willing to save you a spot. And that's pretty cool. And I've seen them save spots for a very long time. If you want to get an inside track, be on social media. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. Lately, LinkedIn has been kind of a thing in the PT world, not as big as it could be, but it's there. Twitter is the way to go. If you want to be visible to the colleagues and the movers and the shakers within the physical therapy realm, be on Twitter. Facebook and Instagram are great and all, but most of the people in a hiring position find that those are a little bit more personal in terms of platform. Twitter is where their professional voice can shine. So you have to be where your audience is. If your audience is somebody you want to cozy up to and get a job. All right, resumes. When it comes to resumes, almost everything now is digital. And there are cases where you'll print it out and give it to people. I've done that, in the past. But primarily, most places, even if you have the opportunity to hand somebody a physical resume, they will ask you to apply through their job portal. And that's just kind of life, right? Everything is through some kind of online portal now. Our EMR is online learning, banking, you name it, there. The reason this matters is because you have to take a look at your resume first as a digital application, then as a document for human eyes. And this is where having marketing savvy matters, especially digital marketing. In this case, SEO. The online application portals are no different than the online keyword relevancy searches that web crawlers pump out, just like Google or Bing or any one of those things. And so you have to play the system a little bit. You have to be able to craft your resume in a way where the job application portals are indeed paying attention to the Word doc or the LinkedIn or Facebook profile that you upload. And we'll go into that in a little bit. But after that, once you pass that first screen, it still needs to make sense to human eyes. And that's where we'll get into the SOAP note approach. And then finally, human contact and interview. So first, let me get into the F-shaped reading versus paragraph reading. And this is where I like to say that for resumes, less is more. A resume should be just the objective facts of what qualifies you for a job or a position. You don't need any fluff in there. The shorter, in my opinion, the better, because most managers don't spend much more than 20, 30 seconds looking through a resume. And it has to do with F-shaped reading. So this here is a paragraph-based reading format. Very common. Most of us type this way. Most of us craft our sentences and words this way. The problem is the human eye, when busy, and the human brain, when busy, does not process this very well. It just kind of looks at things and moves on. And so you want to actually shape your resume like this. You can kind of see it, right? Like this is kind of an F-shaped thing where there's a very, very long line off the top and it gets shorter, shorter, shorter in the shape of an F. You want to be able to make absolutely essential stuff on the top, followed by a little tiny backups, demonstrate that you're not normal in your next section, followed by some backups, and then show off some personality, because out of, say, 50 to 100, maybe 300 applications, you need to be able to pop off of the page a little bit for somebody to save you in the good pile to give you a call. And to do this from a content perspective, think SOAP note. All right. The cover letter that you'll write is a subjective sell of who you are and why they should give you an interview. The resume is the O. It is the objective measures, the data point, basically line by line to the job description or the job posting of how you match up line by line with that job. It's a little bit dry, but that's just the game right now in terms of applications and resumes. It's that personality area. That is where you want to show off a little bit. That is where you have the chance to say that, hey, you know, I wasn't just a student all my life. I also did this. I also did that. These are where your extracurriculars can shine. And you want to write it in a way that shows your personality, that you are a team member that somebody wants to have with their company. All right, the interview. So the interview is a little bit more about why. A lot less about how or what. So really, you know, when anybody interviews you at a job, it's not about the answers that you provide, it's how you provide those answers and why. Especially the tough questions. You know, if they ask you these weird dilemma type of questions, they don't care about your answer. There's no right answer. The right answer is the right way you answer. So I like to share, don't answer with world peace answers. I think that's a shout out to Miss Congeniality, right? And for world peace. You don't need this like, so why do you want to be a physical therapist? To help people. Like, we don't need that type of answer, especially because we're supposed to be doctoring professions. We need something deeper. Your how you are different and why you are different, or just why you do you, those are the answers that actually matter. And many times those describe soft skills that they're looking for. Your interpersonal skills, your ability to perceive, your ability to fit within a team, how you identify culturally, in the workplace culturally. Those things matter. I like the quote from the movie Hitch, right? If they already like you, your job is to not mess this interview up. Most interviews are still not a method of inclusion. They're a method of exclusion. So what ends up happening is, say they interview 10 people, they go, okay, 6 people failed out. Now we have 4 to sift through and really dig into their information, their resume, their curriculum vitae, their cover letter, and our impressions of their interviews. Then we can decide between the 4 who we want to get a secondary interview to, or maybe choose between those 4. All right. Salary negotiations, the fun stuff, the money. So in the entire compensation package is comprised typically of 6 dimensions. The cash value salary, the added value benefits, the perks or the fringe benefits, the workplace culture, the opportunity to move up, and the work-life balance. Essentially, will your work stress follow you home? You have to understand the company's needs, gain makers, and pain points in order to negotiate anything, which means you have to get a little bit behind their brain and step into their shoes. What do they need? Do they have a huge gap in human resources, in which case you probably have a point of leverage? Maybe they have an opportunity to capture a certain population because no other clinician wants to deal with it. Or maybe they don't have a good Saturday scheduling. Nobody wants to work Saturday. So maybe you can get a better pay, a differential upgrade in pay on Saturdays. So you have to go with this. And if this looks familiar, it's because this is the 3 dimensions of the unique value proposition. You have to understand the unique value needs of your customer, which would be the company you're trying to apply to. And then you can pitch yourself or position yourself to leverage something. All right, career mapping. So you can go by a lot of different things, right? By setting, by level of management, if you want to get into business, private practice, entrepreneurship, advocacy, research, public relations, marketing, human resources, consulting, education. There's a lot of ways you can take your career in physical therapy. And I just wanted to put it out there because I think it's positioned to us, for better or for worse, that, clinical is 99% of the time where you are going to be and where you should be. In fact, if you're non-clinical, how dare you? You're no longer one of us. You've betrayed the cause. And I think that's a little tragic. That's what got us in this, quote, problem to begin with. This is a big part of the reason why, as a profession in the United States, physical therapists and physical therapist assistants, say that 5 times fast. That's why we're not as well positioned as we could be. I feel like we should be on the same playing field as dentists and optometrists, but we're not, because we have focused primarily on that one little area, setting, one tiny piece of the pie. All these others are equally important slices of the pie of who we are as physical therapists. I also want to put out there that mentorship is huge. It's the single greatest competitive advantage for individual careers and as a whole. And more mentorship is occurring digitally and is more of a mindset war than it truly is. This is what you should do. Mentorship is wholeheartly what I can share, put my career on an accelerated career path. And I've seen this with people I've mentored, and I've seen this with people that have been mentored, that are my colleagues and friends, and not by me, just in parallel. And it is a huge game changer because a mentor can tell you which stepping stones to actually take, because not all of them are equal. And this is a quick soapbox, I'm not sure what you're exposed to, but I always take time to address this. It's always strange to me, right, that we have this dichotomy. You're a DPT student, you're a PTA student, you're a new grad. So when does the colleague status actually start? Like, when are you going to treat me like a grown-up is the question. Right? And I've been in this game for a little bit now. I'm not, I'm not part of the old guard. I'm not around for 20 years, but I've been around long enough to see this. In my opinion, the best thing we can do for ourselves is colleagues status starts the moment you get into PT school. That's when it starts. That's when it starts for me. I see each and every single one of you, all students, as colleagues. And this has to do with a mindset. If you've heard the scarcity versus growth mindset, or a mindset of scarcity versus a mindset of abundance, it has to do with the fact that just because somebody levels up doesn't mean I lose. Right? Just because I win doesn't mean somebody else loses. We can all win together because we are winning for different reasons. Right? Instead of I need to get a bigger slice of the pie, that there are shared limited resources, create your own resources, make a bigger pie, make a bake sale. It's the idea of competition versus collaboration. I get this question a lot. How do I differentiate myself against my colleagues, against my classmates? I'm like, look, your classmates are not your enemies. They're not your competition. They're your greatest opportunity for collaboration. Not every single job opportunity is good for you, nor is every single job opportunity good for your classmate or your colleague. You want the right job opportunity for the right clinician at the right time for the right reason. And that's where you start to see this path of being a physical therapist as a true path, not just a job. We've got to stop being passive. We've got to be active in the way we pursue things. And a quick shout out to advocacy. It's always important. It's part of being an inspired professional rather than just an engaged or active professional, right? We expect ourselves to be at the top of our license, but we also need to advocate for ourselves, the profession, and support each other as colleagues. To practice as a doctor, right? The laws have to be in place to do so. And I would say we're kind of in the middle right now. We have doctoring degrees. We are a doctoring profession, but in a lot of states, and according to CMS, which kind of governs a lot of the way the bigger elements of healthcare occurs, we are not, quote, true doctors, right? And you get that little offensive twinge a lot. Like, oh, okay, you're not a real doctor. I'm like, yeah, I totally am. Because what's going to happen? Are you going to go to your primary care physician when you hurt your shoulder? Maybe. Are they going to fix it? No, they're going to send them to me. So we have to be legally there to be in front of the consumer face. So I like to, challenge people with this. If you want to diagnose, which I feel we should, if you want to order diagnostics, have direct access, bolster industrial clout, get CMS physician status, if you want to have full unrestricted access and have the consumers have that same unrestricted access as if you were a dentist or an optometrist, then you're going to have to advocate. You're going to have to be more. You're going to have to be more than, oh, the APTA is going to take care of it. Oh, my state association is going to take care of it. Oh, the chief marketing officer is going to take care of it. No, everybody has to be part of this effort. So advocate. So let's get to your questions. I'm going to put myself back on. So let me actually, let me put this up right here. Go ahead and jot this down, screen cap it, take a picture of it. Please reach out at any time through any platform you choose. I think all of them are up there: website, email, phone, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram. So even Facebook's just at Dr. Ben Fung. Surprise, surprise. But if you have any follow questions after this talk, please let me know. I know we're kind of coming up the cusp, so I really do want to get to your questions. I figure let's roll through the list that we have, and then we can take any kind of open air stuff. All right, let's do this. And stop presenting. Okay, I should be back up. All right, guys, I should be back on the screen. Give me a second just to deal with the 20 windows I have open. And let us talk about this. 15 questions to roll through. Let's see. All right. What is going on here? That's why that's happening. All right. Okay, guys. So when considering entry-level salary, average offer 60K, there it is, 60K. How do you take bonuses, sign-on benefits into consideration? Always. So a lot of companies can't budge on what they can offer you because of some kind of corporate policy. Like, we can only offer people between 0 and 5 years of experience, X amount. It's not always true. They might just say that, right? It's part of their negotiation tactics. But they can offer you things that are different, like extra CU dollars, sign-on bonuses, student loans, or quarterly bonuses as part of the first year or so. And a lot of times those are tax efficient and are, more money in your pocket, and actually it works better on an accounting level for them as well. So how do you take it? You ask. You just go, hey, so I really appreciate it. And, just wondering, I think it'd be a disservice if I didn't ask, are there any kind of new grad or new employee welcome, sign-on bonuses, that kind of thing? How do they work, and how can we make the best of this arrangement? And the more respectful you ask, the better. So when I take into consideration, I like to take the total compensation into consideration, right? And usually benefits is somewhere between 15 to 30% costs on top of the cash. So if you're getting paid $60,000 a year and they're giving you, let's just make it up, like they have like the world's best compensation package, and they give you like a 30% additional value statement, then really you're making 80K that year. What percentage of one FTE of staff do you think we are worth? What percentage would you fight for? Total compensation for a smaller practice, basically 40. For a larger big box package, probably somewhere between 25 to 30. But honestly, there are arguments that once the break-even point is hit, that you can tier that up all the way to 50, 55. I've actually seen that with new grads getting about 50%, 55% collections. Now, that's based off of just cash. They have to manage their own benefits package. But that's a different, that's a different discussion altogether. So I would at least fight for 40 because that's the data I have, right? Every single contributor that has stated that they are making percent collections are making 40. Some are on the lower side of like 30, even 25, but the majority is 40. And that has to do with like an industry average of, it's somewhere around like 50 to 60% is tends to be how much overhead costs, depending on the scale or efficiency of your business. And from where I stand, just in the industry and as a consultant, I can tell you that a lot of that is wasted. So it shouldn't cost practices 60% of what they collect as gross revenue to run their business. It really should cost somewhere in the 50s, if not into the high 40s. But that's, again, separate discussion. How much income does the average outpatient therapist generate a year? We answered that. That's $250,000, give or take. If you go to updocmedia.com/knowmyvaluept, there's a calculator there for that, and you can just plug it in. You'll see how much you make in gross revenue. Now, it's a calculator that has, basically, as most people quite happy about it. It needs to be updated. I'm collaborating with some private practice owners shortly, hopefully with further talks at PPS, to make it so that it'll break down your entire compensation package. Right now, it's an intro discussionary tool. Like, oh, okay, so I'm actually worth this much because it hasn't been talked about. But there does have to be some kind of need to break down, okay, of all this, what turns into what. How do you respond to an employer who says they won't negotiate because it might cause for hostile work environment? If a person of less qualification, less years is making more. Basically, performance. Is years actually adding value? That's kind of where I got myself both in trouble, but also promoted, was as a new grad, there were compliments sent to my department about me that were new, unheard of. And you know what? Like, I'll stand by that proudly, no matter how many people that, makes uncomfortable, offends, pisses off, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, prior to that, I was probably I think I was the only physical therapist that was featured on, local news and national platforms in the first year of graduation for that organization. That's just how it happened. I think that's just a new trend you're seeing everywhere. So really, I throw that back to the employer. So how has that clinician done for you? Been there 15, 20 years, regular raises. How are their outcomes? How's your productivity? How's their contribution value to the team? How's their efforts in marketing? Are they getting direct referrals and reviews because of their existence at your organization? If not, I'd like to suggest that we can pilot something from, our situation here based on performance. What is a good benefits package? This day and age, I would not settle for anything less. I don't care where you are, but total compensation needs to be 80,000 or above. Expected annual raises really depends on the organization you're with. Some guarantee 3% every single year just for being there and to fight, inflation. Inflation is like 3.2 up to 4, depending on where you are. But it really, the different organizations kind of preset this. It's almost impossible to fight for this unless you just straight up ask for raises. What would you consider to be a good mentorship program for their new grad at their first job? 4 hours of co-treat, 1 hour to sit down. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Caseload. Okay. I think I might sneeze again. 1 second. Oh, that was embarrassing. Okay, so a good mentorship program, it really isn't about time. It's about how well the new grad clinician can acclimate. And it's not even for a new grad, it's the new employee to this organization. Everyone needs some form of exposure because every company does something slightly differently, all things slightly differently. Even if it's the same EMR, it's slightly different. So it's really not about like the the time. It's about the allowed windows of exposure. So when it comes to mentorship, really what I like to suggest that most new employees, new hires should take somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks to get acclimated to the environment. And it's not about how much you get to do or see and then jump into. It's about how quickly you learn, and that's something that your onboarding preceptor should take care of. Now, not everybody has a program like that, but I would suggest, and a lot of companies are happy to do this, is you'll take a cut and pay. I need more coffee. A cut and pay early on. So for the first 2 weeks, you might get paid like 70%. Next 2 weeks, 80%. Next 2 weeks, 90%. And then 100% pay, because what you're doing is you're shadowing and getting used to a situation and then moving full force. I think that actually is the best way to get mentored, is gradually exposing your evaluation and treatment hours hands-on, one-on-one, and taking point, just like you would at a rotation. And, don't cut out virtual mentorship. Not all the time is the best mentor for you actually at your workplace. So that's kind of like a roundabout way. You have to kind of create it for yourself. I mean, my new grad mentorship story was, oh yeah, we have a mentor for you. He's going to be your mentor for 8 weeks. Awesome. Well, the person quit their job and moved to Hawaii. I was on my own. And I might have to excuse myself to blow my nose because this is getting ridiculous. Actually, this is a great time to do it. So how about this? If you guys don't mind giving me a quick second, and I'm going to excuse myself and blow my nose. Give me a second here. Whew. Okay. Morning problems. Oh man, the time difference, the killer. Let's roll through these, and then let's take some open Q&A. Co-treating. Should we be treating each patient one-on-one for optimal patient care? Is there a place for treating 2 or 3 patients at a time? Absolutely. One of my early experiences as an aide, in fact, had dedicated total joint programs, total hip and total knee. And what they did was they grouped a bunch of people together, usually 4, 5, or 6, and they had total knee classes and total hip classes. And I think there's definitely a place for this, because there's a lot of, call it classical situations where one-on-one isn't always better, right? Time is not valuable. Time is a vehicle for value. If you're doing nothing with your time, you've done nothing. If you've done a lot with your time, then you've done something. So there is definitely a place for it. Do we need to bill ethically and document correctly? Absolutely, right? That's a prerequisite. But there are definitely certain things that could be looped into group situations on an outpatient level, even in an inpatient rehab setting too. Home health, acute care, probably not, but it's setting and patient specific. What number of patients a day would you consider to be a mill and unacceptable? Really, I feel like the mill situation has more to do with ethical and legal billing and what you can tolerate as a clinician, right? If you don't feel like you have the resources or equipment or just general compunction to see patients every 23 minutes, and they're not giving you documentation time, which a lot of places don't anymore, and you're doing this for like 10, 12 hours at a time, well, that would be a mill, because it's not a place that is a mill. It's that you're working as if you are a mill. So if you have that feeling, then you have to change something, right? You have to talk to your employer about it, talk to your supervisor about it, let them know your level of comfortability. And if you feel that your quality is suffering, and how do you tell? Well, objective measures, right? If everybody else is getting better oswestry scores than you, then there's something going on, right? But you have to go from it could be just you being completely stressed out, or it could be like your quality's actually suffering. If I give you a number, I mean, I've seen it, right? Like a patient every quote 20 minutes, but every hour, 9 minutes delay. To me, that's kind of mill-ish, because you're kind of writing that midpoint rule line. FYI, there's no such thing as an 8-minute rule. It just got kind of coined. It's actually midpoint. But that to me would be mill-like, where if the organizational setup doesn't really seem to consider the health of the clinician, and I mean that on all dimensions, then that to me is mill quality. Do I like memes? Absolutely, but I do like GIFs more. CSCS, worth it as a PT? Yes and no, depends on your setting. But I will tell you this: if you're interested in working with higher level athletes, most teams and coaches, head coaches, really respect the whole FMS SFMA ecosystem. It's just very popular in that world. It's a marketing thing. To needle or to not to needle, I can't needle in California, so to me, it's do you like that intervention? Do you see good results? Right? I know there's a lot of studies out there saying put the needles away. A lot of people like them. Our treatment approach to improving human health cannot be siloed out, cannot be segmented out, can't be seen as a unimodal approach, right? Needling, even modalities, certain types of hands-on might be there to gain trust or to gain compliance or buy-in or whatever to some of the more, quote, true scientifically proven approaches. But a lot of those scientifically proven approaches need buy-in because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Are there any travel positions, mostly jobs that people don't want, or qualities? Oh, there's always going to be places that people don't want. It's on you to negotiate with your recruiter, and actually it's about the recruiter, not the company per se, to set you up with good contracts. There's plenty of things that people don't want, and there's actually a lot of good contracts out there because the stress is a lot lower. You're only going to be there for X amount of weeks. So if this is a terrible situation, well, see you later. Best Con Ed courses throughout the years for ortho. Personally, I can recommend a couple, but the one that I would really recommend in straight ortho would be the McKenzie series. Just personally, they don't pay me to say it, but I found a lot of value there, primarily because it's such a hands-off approach, and it's a very systematic approach of using pain as not a threatening discussion point. And that's actually my joke, which is, we seem to be the worst sales people in the world, physical therapists, but McKenzie's therapists are the best. And it's so funny because, as a culture, McKenzie clinicians are very non-business oriented, most of them at least, and they don't want to sell anything because it's clinical. But at the same time, what's their approach? Oh, you have sciatica and back pain. Okay. It hurts a lot. Yeah, sure. How does it hurt when you stand up straight? Worse? Oh, okay. How about in a back bend? Oh, it really hurts. Cool. Let's do 10 of those. Right? Like, they're amazing salespeople. Oh, man. All right. When in my career did I decide to pursue an MBA? What did I consider prior to that decision? I considered an MBA because my mentor told me to. Essentially, I went to my mentor, who was the CEO of the hospital I was working at, and I came to him in frustration and in hopes that he would give me some kind of answer to being more. And I wanted to be more than just a clinician. Having that path of getting in front of my town, winning finalist for Best of San Diego 2 years in a row, leading the San Diego Heart Walk, which has like 50,000 or something more people that attend that event, leading the warm up and the intro stuff, being on news platforms, like all that stuff. To me, I was like, okay, look, I got to be more than a clinician. And as a career and as an industry, we need to be more than that. We need to be upfront in media, in front of everybody, so that people can know about us, right? If you want to capture 100% of the market, you have to be on 100% of the channels. And I went to him going, what else can I do to actually affect greater change beyond the one-on-one that I'm doing here in acute care and beyond the fitness classes that are reaching out to the community? And he said, look, if you want to make big changes, you need to be in a position to do so. But as a physical therapist, because of the way the healthcare monster is organized, you need an MBA to be able to have a discussion, or at least be heard at the, the executive table. And it was true enough. When I started getting the pursuit of the MBA, there's a lot of discussions that were open to me. Like, oh, you're pursuing an MBA. Okay, let's talk, right? Because MBAs are stereotyped to make money or know how to make money, at least on a big bucks level. So, I came to that point, and it worked for me right away through the MBA, just being enrolled. I got the promotion very quickly, and even got a position held for me through a home health company for a very long time. They're bending all sorts of rules because they wanted me to be their next generation of leaders, which I because started up Doc Media and Recharge. Okay, so the fung, the whole fung, and nothing but the fung. So help us fung. I become a term. All right, let's open this up to open Q&A, and let's get you guys on the screen. I think this is a good time to maybe how to do this best, because I'm a little bit afraid of undoing the laptop mic and having that feedback in. Some open questions before y'all have to take off.
Hey, you there?
Hey, I'm here. That actually sounds just good. There's no feedback right now.
I muted the room, and now we're just live on my laptop.
Okay, cool.
Works
for me if you guys can hear me.
You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Or move in closer.
Like talk about NDA, but like the spots on MPH, like public health.
Oh, MPH?
Yeah.
Okay. They're totally different. I mean, they're both really good for career acceleration. Like if you really want to work with, let me put it out there first. If your goal is to move up into a corporate organization's upper echelon, we're talking VP and above, you're going to need another degree other than your DPT, unfortunately. Within a reasonable amount of time for our millennial mindset, it doesn't take like a 25-year career path to move up that high. So you're going to need an MBA or an MPH or an MHA or something else. The MPH in public health, it would be really good for us in terms of population health, because a lot of a program in population health management designed in the Master's of Public Health degree. So I see that as a potential bigger future now that we're talking about value-based care and population health. And so if you're really interested in that realm, curate populations of health and elevate their human capital value within like an ecosystem and a environmental economy approach, go for it. It could be really, really good. If you're more interested in like, okay, I want to move up to like COO of a hospital or CFO of this or CEO of that, then it's better just to go get the MBA. You can just get it online if outpatient is all you want to do, but you probably want a pedigree organization for your MBA when it comes to like the larger organization sets for the MBA. So big box name. Let me see. There we go.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Answered all the questions. Awesome. Okay, well, this, Tim, should be live for replay. I'll stop the broadcast now.
Okay.